You list 3 things you're grateful for from the past 24 hours, and you do this for at least 21 days. The neural pathways in your brain change so that you see the world in a more positive way. I heard that. I'm like, that's way too freaking easy.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renée Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women! My next guest is an expert in social media marketing and the president of Blair Kaplan Communications, a BC, Canada-based PR agency. She brings 15 years of experience to her clients, including global wellness, entertainment, and lifestyle brands. She is the creator of the social media empowerment pillars, has helped her customers grow their followers into tens of thousands in just 1 month. She won Integrative Marketing Awards, and so much more. Recently, USA Today listed Blair as one of the top 10 conscious female leaders, and Yahoo listed Blair as a top 10 social media expert to watch. She has spoken on national stages, and her expertise has been featured in media outlets including Forbes, CBC Radio, Entrepreneur, and Thrive Global. In the summer of 2023, a new show that will be airing on Amazon Prime Video called My Story will showcase Blair's life story. She hosts the Radical Resilience podcast and is an international best-selling author. In her free time, you can find Blair growing the Global Resilience Projects community, where users share their stories of overcoming life's most challenging moments. Please welcome my new dear friend, whom I met, I don't know how many years ago, Blair Kaplan Venables.
Well, hello.
We were introduced through Alexis Dean.
Yeah. I think it was before the pandemic or right when it started, we met via the internet.
We did.
And then we met in person last April.
Yeah, at a camp. Oh, wait.
No, we met in Mexico at Baby
Cabo. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I remember that.
Yeah.
And then at camp again.
Friendship at first sit. We sat on those cushions.
It was a friendship at first sit. Yeah. And now, so Baby Bathwater is a really cool little crew, and you guys are headed to Croatia next month.
We sure are. I've never been to Croatia, and I heard great things about this event and the country, so I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll be there sailing past each other.
I'll wave.
Yeah.
You can be like,
too.
Oh, with your binoculars, I think that's Blair.
Yeah.
It looks like a mermaid.
You can't miss the tall, skinny blonde on a big yacht in the middle of the ocean who looks under-coordinated. That would be me.
And if you see a little short little thing with big curls flailing around, it's probably me.
Yeah. And you'll be with some really cool people.
Yeah.
So let's kick things off. I'd love to know. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do.
It's funny because when you ask that, I immediately want to start rapping the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song.
So this is a story. You know what? The actual house that was built down the street from us years ago looks exactly like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air house. So we jokingly say that Will Smith lives there.
He probably does.
No, it's an Asian dude. It's not. Yeah, it's not Will.
Not really. So I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. I am a child of divorce and the daughter of a man who lived with addiction. And this is important for what I will talk about later. I have entrepreneurship pulsing through my veins. I literally have lineage of entrepreneurs generation after generation on both sides. I went to school for public relations, which is something we have in common. And at the beginning of the recession in 2008, when I was 23 years old and had no idea what was going on, I started my own PR company. But I was in the right place at the right time, being a vintage millennial, and quickly learned that there was a need for social media marketing. Yep. That's true. Everyone's like, oh, you do PR. Do you use this thing called social media? And I said yes. And I had no idea, but I took what I knew from PR and put it in the social space. And that was 15 years ago. So I'm a social media expert and mentor.
I love how you are a vintage millennial.
Yeah. Like who came up with geriatric millennial? Like, excuse me,
go
away.
I can still get out of bed without falling. Don't call me a geriatric.
I'm like not a dinosaur. And vintage.
So it's vintage sounds like you're worth a lot.
And I am.
And you're iconic.
Yeah.
Right? So is 1980 the year that the millennials started?
I don't actually know. I'm born in 85 and I'm maybe 80. Yeah. I don't know.
So I like to call myself an OG millennial or like the creator of the millennials because I am maybe one of the first.
Yeah, that could be it.
An
so
OG.
what's older than vintage that's still cool?
Classic.
Because
that's like time. I'm a classic. No. If you say classic millennial, that doesn't.
I'm a classic millennial. I love social media.
Give up my Stanley Cup and my oat latte and
oh my God.
No. That's cool. Okay. And then, so continue on. Sorry.
Okay. So that's how I make my money. I'm a social media expert. I specialize in social media marketing, social media strategy implementation, and social media education. And I've had the privilege of working with startups, multi-generational families, and everything in between. And I've worked in entertainment and wellness and fashion and everything in between. But where my heart is with the Global Resilience Project. And I'm the founder of this social enterprise and community, which is a safe space for people to share stories of resilience. And I didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I want to be resilient and start a community. It just kind of happened to me.
And you have a book.
Yeah. So maybe should I tell a bit of my story? It'll help.
You go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Content warning. I talk about some heavy stuff. If you need to pause this and walk away and collect yourself if I trigger you or, you feel emotions bubbling up, do what you need to do to take care of your mental health. And if you need to be connected to a mental health professional in your community, you can reach out to me and I will find someone for you. So I grew up in the 80s and the 90s in Winnipeg, and my dad was a gemologist and a diamond dealer, very successful entrepreneur. And unfortunately, he developed an addiction to cocaine. And when I was 7, I was very close with my dad. And when I was 7, he had to sell the business and he blew up our family. He left my mom, left the family. His addiction spiraled. He went from snorting to injecting synthetic heroin to smoking crack, for 40 plus years. He was functioning. He always had a job of sorts and he always had a roof over his head, but he was in and out of my life. It was not, your typical. I was raised in the Jewish community in Winnipeg, so it wasn't I wasn't your typical family. And I didn't know my dad wasn't well. I thought he stopped loving me because he would tell me, I'm going to come to your birthday party. And I'd wait by the door and he wouldn't show up. Or I'm coming to get you for family time for McDonald's and I'm running late. I'll be there soon, and not showing up. And that happened a lot. And so I gave up and I realized I couldn't trust him. I developed abandonment issues, anxiety, depression, all sorts of terrible things, trust issues. And anger, imagine, right? Being really close with your parent and then all of a sudden they do that. I didn't understand and no one sat down with me and I didn't have therapy. This was the 90s. Therapy wasn't it was sort of taboo, but it isn't taboo. I love therapy, but it was apparently to my mom. And in my 20s, I was given the gift to go to something called the Landmark Forum. My employer at the time was Lululemon, and I took it because it was a free trip to Vancouver. I didn't care about developing myself. I was in my 20s. And actually there, I was given the tools I needed to forgive my dad. There was something that just clicked. And I had this beautiful conversation. There was lots of tears. And I was like, Dad, I'm sorry for ever wanting you to die and hating you. And I'm just going to accept you for who you are and accept whatever relationship you can give me. And from that moment on, he began his journey towards sobriety to harm reduction. He started calling and texting me. We started talking every day. He started to come visit me across Canada. He was in one province, I was in the other. And I had my dad back, or whatever version of him. I had a dad. I had my dad. And he developed a relationship with my sister, and he was back in the life of our whole family. He even got to walk me down the aisle, which I never thought was going to be possible, right? I didn't think he'd ever be in my life again. But at the end of 2018, we learned he was terminally ill. He had COPD, and eventually we learned he also had lung cancer. And I felt robbed. My dad is in my life and now you're taking him away. And it was just didn't feel fair and I couldn't process. So I started telling our story to anyone who would listen. Our story of his addiction, my forgiveness, and our resilience. And our story was inspiring people. It was inspiring this person to get therapy and this person to fix a relationship with a loved one and this person to choose sobriety. So I said, Dad, what if we write a book and we gather stories of resilience from around the world and then we bookend it with your story and my story. And so when you're no longer here, our story can still help people. And so March 2019, the Global Resilience Project was born. But this is just the beginning because I declared how resilient I was and am. Universe. The universe really showed me how resilient I am and the high level of what happened from learning my dad was going to die until now. My grandfather helped raise me. He died. That was sad, not tragic, but very sad. On the way home from his funeral, my husband and I got in a car accident on the Sea to Sky Highway. I got a concussion. This whole time we struggled with fertility. My husband had a heart attack and quadruple bypass surgery a few months later. He's fine now, but he almost died. COVID happened. We all know about that. We were told we probably couldn't get pregnant naturally. A year after the heart attack, we found out we were pregnant without trying, which was amazing. However, we miscarried. The day of the miscarriage, we learned my father-in-law had cancer. He died 3 weeks later. 3 months later, my mom died after a 3-week battle with cancer. And then my dad died in the same year as my mom. I had a choice. Could have given up. Definitely wanted to. But I made the choice to keep going and take things moment by moment and put my one foot in front of the other. And I got through it. And I'm still in it, but I got through the thick of it. And what started off as a legacy project, what started off as a book turned into a legacy community. And in June, we had, our first book came out, The Global Resilience Project, and it became an international bestseller, which is amazing. I limped across the finish line. I survived a lot. And we, since then, grew our community globally. We became a social enterprise. We are opening a children's center in Ghana. We launched a merchandise line. We have a podcast. We're working on our next book. I've become a motivational speaker, teaching people how to be resilient. And so I've really learned to harness my pain and turn it into purpose. So that's a high level of what's been going on in my world.
Wow. Okay. Well, you made me cry. There's parts of the story that I knew, but I really didn't know all of that at once. That is pain most people experience in a lifetime. And you experienced that in what, a couple years?
Yeah. Shane's dad died a year after his heart attack, but it was I recovered from Shane almost dying, but it was miscarriage. And 3 weeks later, Dave died. And then my mom died. And it was these were my mom was my pillar. And my dad dying was sad, not tragic. We prepared for it. Still very sad, but we lost 3 parents and a baby. I'm in my 30s. I'm not old. And when my mom died, the idea of being a mom died with her. Never came back. So we decided not to have kids, and I'm just dedicating my life's work to help people to be more resilient. I'm also sober. I didn't think I'd be a 37-year-old sober, childless, parentless bird watcher, but this is who I am.
You watch birds?
I do. I'm watching these magpies build a nest right now. It's super cool.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So I've been doing so much spiritual work lately, and to hear this story now versus the Renée that was on the other side of this journey had been just devastated. And I learned even in the last 24 hours, what grieving really is grieving is actually the ultimate form of love.
Mm-hmm.
It is love. It's all the essence of love. And we can grieve the loss of the death of somebody. We can grieve the loss of a job, or anything can be grieved. And it just means that it's the ultimate form and expression of love. And so you don't get to physically see these people in your life anymore, but the love is there. It's almost like they've left that for you. And now you have this incredible mission and this message for the world. And the work that you're doing now, it's incredible.
Thank you. And I totally agree. And trying to understand all that happening in such a short period of time, I became a more spiritual person. I had to do alternative ways to heal. I got to the point where therapists were you're doing everything you can. I'm like, okay, well, I just paid you $180 to tell me I'm doing everything I can. And I know there's more I can do. But it's interesting because I've become very spiritual, and my mom comes to me in my dreams. My dad comes to me. Like, there's signs. I feel signs from them around. Things happen that are, it's only explainable that it has to be my mom or my dad. But yeah, I mean, I'd rather them be alive and me not trying to save the world. But that's where I am.
Yeah, we did. Actually, Dan and I did our first ever mediumship reading a couple days ago.
Oh my God.
I was, before that, like, I don't even know what I'm signing up for. Like, even when the guy showed up online, he's like, hi, they don't get any information from you. And I'm like, I actually don't even know why I'm here. And he's like, And then my husband showed up and we talked about it. But I was just like, wow. So part of this is really understanding that to not fear death as much as we do in our physical bodies, like how our society just fears death so much because we just don't know the other side of it. And I'm learning that it's okay to grieve, and we should grieve as loud as we want and we need to, because that's the healing journey. And like I said, grief is beyond just losing somebody so much. And I know there's a way that this kind of weaves into understanding how to grow your business, but it is such a powerful message. And I have a bunch of questions for you.
Yeah.
Again, so I mean, you can look at this from the example of maybe it is because somebody died, or maybe it is because your business isn't doing so well. Maybe it is because you got sued, or your key employee left, or somebody stole from you, or a launch didn't go as planned.
Like any trauma.
Anything, in order to get through it, you have to be resilient.
You know what, Renee? We're all resilient. Like, we are born to be resilient. We're resilient until the day we die, because that's what being human is. Like, we have to get through the hard stuff.
Man, and it is not easy. Oh, okay. So then tell us, why do you think this work, especially that you're doing, is so important?
You know, if I had someone like me in my life teaching people how to strengthen their resilience muscle, just like any other muscle, there's things you can do to make it stronger. I think I would have been more prepared for the onslaught of trauma and the grief I experienced. But over this experience, I learned a lot. And everything I learned is not just woo, but also science-backed. And there are little things that I do and big things that I do that help me get through it. And so the work that I'm doing is helping people, because you know what? I'm sorry to be the Blair of bad news, but like, someone you love is probably going to die, and it's going to be terrible. Let me give you the tools you need to help you get through it a little better, or a lot better. I want to be that person that helps you through your darkness.
The Blair of bad news.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
It just works.
It so works. If there's anybody I'd want to hear bad news from, though, it's you. Because I know that you would just kind of come in and be like, but here's how you can manage it.
Here's the sandwich method. This is good. This is bad. This is what we're going to do.
Okay, so then tell us. So what are some of the things that you do that teach? Tools, techniques?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll define resilience and resilience muscle. Okay, so resilience. In the dictionary, you're probably going to read about like, it's bouncing back from a challenging time. But like, what are we bouncing back to? Are you ever the same person once you come out the other side? I would say no. There's nothing back about it. You're going forward. So I define resilience as the ability to bounce forward from a challenging experience. We are moving forward. Okay. 2, what is a resilience muscle? Well, you're not going to see it on like a skeleton or an anatomy map in biology class. And I don't even know if it's a real thing, but I think it's I made this up, and maybe other people use it. I didn't Google it, but the way I see a resilience muscle is that we all have it. And it like goes from the very top of our head to the tips of our toes, and we can't see it, but it's like any muscle. And I just said, like, you know, you want to get stronger in your arms, you do bicep curls, right? There are things you could do to make this resilience muscle stronger. So when you have to use it, you can navigate those challenges better. Just like if you are trying to get stronger arms and a friend says, can you help me move a couch? It might be a little easier than if you didn't strengthen your arms. So.
And so what are some of those techniques? Because I know it's not doing crunches or air squats.
No. I should be doing squats because I'm about to go hike volcanoes. But anyways, that's a different story.
Maybe a little bit too late for that.
So the first one is actually something I learned well before my life exploded. I started doing this in 2016. I watched a video and Sean Acor from the Happiness Advantage had this video on the TED Talks. And he said something in there. And what I learned from him is that practicing gratitude is so important. And this is why. I learned that if you practice gratitude at the exact same time every single day, and you list 3 things you're grateful for from the past 24 hours, and you do this for at least 21 days, the neural pathways in your brain change so that you see the world in a more positive way. I heard that. I'm like, that's way too freaking easy. So I opened up my phone, went to my alarm section, put gratitude alarm. I labeled it gratitude alarm, set it to go off every single day at 9 p.m. And it's been going off ever since.
Question for you. What is something that helps to build reputation, increase demand for your expertise, expand your network, increase your credibility, increase relevance, allows you to take better control of your message and perception, helps you to get more recognized, and is the most trusted form of marketing out there? It's public relations. And I know if you're listening to this show, it means that you are ripe and ready to unlock the next version of your business. I also know that you probably don't have an extra $30,000 sitting around to hire an expert agency that can do this for you. What if I had a simple solution that could help you achieve all of the above without the hefty price tag? What if I told you that you could have a custom world-class PR strategy built for you in a day with all the necessary videos to show you how to implement and integrate the strategy into your everyday business function? How would you feel? Well, I've got some great news for you. I have created the ultimate VIP day that allows you to play a bigger game with the guidance of a veteran publicist who will create your custom strategy with a vetted media list, creative pitch templates, and all the PR fixings you need to get way more recognition for yourself and your business. And it is a simple solution that you and your team can implement the next day. I promise you, this has been done by dozens already with some incredible results. It is called the VIP Day. It's that simple. It is the We Wild Women VIP Day. If you go to wewildwomen.com/VIP Day to learn more, you can either apply or you can reach out to me on Instagram at Renée_Warren to learn more about the VIP Day and how this can help you and your brand unlock the next level. That's wewildwomen.com/VIP Day. Okay, this is fascinating. So part of my journey, so when I was in college, and this is probably the first time I ever actually shared this on the show, I was extremely depressed. I was breaking up with my first love of my life. It was just a traumatizing time. I had shattered my collarbone and was on a bunch of different drugs, Percocets, you name it, because the pain was unreal. And my grandfather passed away and he was very important to me. It was all these things always happen at the same amount of time. But I couldn't get out of that depression. I couldn't. So I'd go party every weekend. I was drinking a lot, staying up late. I wasn't myself, not showing up to school. And I guess the magnitude of my depression was always at the height in the middle of the afternoon. So at 3-ish p.m. And then over time, I started to associate 3 p.m. to being a very depressing time. And it was when I would always want to go and have a drink or just eat a bag of chips, whatever it was. It was always the same time. Now, if I could occupy myself in those 2 hours, I could get past it and move on. But if I had nothing to do and if I was by myself, it was a terrible situation. And so what I try to do is I would replace that time with working out, going to CrossFit, or making sure I was booking podcast recordings or sales calls so that I was grounded in something. Mm-hmm. But that's always a Band-Aid solution because there are going to be days when you don't have anything scheduled or you're worried about scheduling something to fill that void. So knowing that I could have practiced this in that time, and how long does it take you? 2 minutes?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if I'm at a party, it takes a bit longer because everyone will stop and I do it with everyone. If I do it with everyone. People know the alarm goes off and everyone loves it. Everyone loves doing it. Not even a minute. me and my husband do it every day. Like sometimes like I'll hit snooze because I'm like, I'm in a bad mood. And he'll cross the house. He'll be like, I'm grateful for hockey, cats, and boobies. And then like I do it. Like there's always something to be grateful for, right? Like it takes no time. And you think about the 24 hours. I like to do it at the end of the day because if you're having kind of not so awesome of a day, it's a good way to end the day. And I do it at 9 because I go to bed usually before 10. Like I like to be in bed by 9:30. But also I just want to put it out there. Like there is no excuse to not do it. Like the day my mom went to sleep for her final time in the hospital, me, my mom and sister practiced gratitude. The day my dad passed away, he died right at sundown on off Friday. And me, my aunt, my uncle, my sister were with him that night at my aunt's house. We all practiced gratitude. We were grateful my uncle made it in on time. We were grateful my dad was no longer in pain, and we were grateful to all be together. There's always something to be grateful for. There's always something to be grateful for. My husband, when he had his heart attack, he was in the hospital for 3 weeks, 2 weeks leading up to the surgery and a week after. And when he recovered, he had a roommate, Gord. Bless him. But me and Shane and Gord and Shane's parents, we all practice gratitude. Like it's a practice. Brush your teeth, you check your email, we practice gratitude. It's part of our routine.
That's amazing. So do you guys still stay in touch with Gord?
I asked Shane the other day, I'm like, do you think Gord was really old? I'm like, do you think Gord's still alive? And Shane's like, I don't know. But he has his number, but I just don't know if Shane wants to know that answer because we've had a lot of loss.
Yeah. That's so special though. And what a way to just like bring and rally people together. Like we started doing a lot of breath work together, and we'll even just be with our friends. Okay, it's time to breathe. And we put on like an app or something.
Yep.
And breath work has such incredible, I don't even know. It's like a complete change of state. Like you think about doing drugs like psilocybin, weed, whatever, and it changes your mental state to hopefully help you through something. Breathwork can have the same effect. And all you need to do is breathe.
Breathing is life. Without breath, there's no life. And, when you pay attention to breath and do breath work, it's profound. I was doing some breath work healing around the time my grandpa passed away. But then I got a concussion and I couldn't really go too deep into it because it like made my concussion syndrome worse.
Oh, really?
I know. I didn't know that. And they're like, you have a concussion. You shouldn't be doing this.
Oh my gosh. So like, don't breathe. Hold your breath. Hold your breath until your head gets better. Don't breathe. Stop breathing.
Hold your mouth.
I get it. It can make you very lightheaded. Mm-hmm. Like when we were at a retreat a couple weekends ago, the facilitator who does this for a living was demonstrating how to do it. And even she was like, woof, I got a little lightheaded there. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So then so I know that you have like your PR business, but with regards to the resilience stuff, what is it that you're doing outside of the book and giving talks? Are you teaching in people's programs?
Yeah. So like my goal, like when I close my eyes and I see what I'm doing in the future, I see myself spending the majority of my time writing and speaking, whether it's on stage, a private lunch and learn, to kids in front of a classroom, a TED Talk, writing my next book, writing articles for publications. And that's what I'm working towards. So I spend my time, like I'm about to go to Ghana. We are opening a children's center for at-risk youth with my partner, God's Way, who's on the ground there. And while I'm there, I'm leading, I think, 3 workshops on resilience to kids of different ages. And I think 1 or 2 social media workshops. I love speaking. I like literally came into the world blaring. Have a gift of the gab. Can't, I'm loud even when I whisper. Yeah.
Your name is so good.
I know. My mom just like nailed it with my name.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what am I doing? So right now, like we're working on our second book. I didn't think I was going to do a second book because the first book took a long time and a lot of people died in my life. And my mom actually came to me in a dream, and I was getting ready to put out my second book, and she was telling me how proud she was of me. So at this time, we're gathering stories of resilience for book number 2. So that's taking a lot of my capacity and speaking and leading workshops and supporting my co-authors. We have a fun merchandise line. We have a shirt that says Good Grief, and a portion of that gets donated to Camp Aaron to support kids who have lost loved ones. We also have a shirt that says Dead Parents Society, and it's the club that no one wants to join. And if you've lost a parent, you get it. And if you haven't, you probably think it's a little tacky, but don't worry.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And yeah, we have other stuff too. Like we just put out a hoodie on the back. It says Resilient AF. I'm excited to wear it all the way to Africa, because then once I'm there, I probably don't need it. But
You never know.
Yeah. And like my goal was to empower 88 million people by the time I turned 40 by August 2025. And I'm going to probably hit it this summer because our story is being featured on a new show airing on Amazon Prime. And so that's huge. And then we've also been invited to be at an Emmys gifting lounge. So it's like a private event where celebrities and media come, and we're going to be there. My sister and I, she's our mental health director, and we're going to be handing out copies of our book and talking to people and spreading our mission. So once I hit my goal of empowering 88 million people, I need a new goal. And like, that's just been my compass. I had 3 parents die in their 60s. I don't have kids. My legacy is helping people, whether I help one person when I speak to them or like 1,000 at a time. So that's where I'm moving towards. Like, if a cool opportunity comes my way and it's going to help people be resilient, I'll say yes. And like, I'm here for it.
I love it. I love it. So that's the big focus for you. Now I want to quickly talk about this in terms of entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. So I alluded to a story, I think before we started recording, about years ago. I guess I'd say one of the toughest things I had to go through in business was being sued. And there's a joke that you haven't been sued in business and are you really an entrepreneur? And I'm like, that's not fair, because I know a lot of great people that, no, it's not fun. But let me tell you, you learn the best lessons in those darkest moments. And it was something that just cracked me open, because I had never treated any employee to the extent of feeling that they had to sue me for wrongful dismissal. Mm-hmm. And I realized the whole time I thought it was about me, it wasn't. It was actually about them. Mm-hmm. It's all about them. And man, I could have used some of your techniques back in the day going through that. But now I know, facing this same circumstance in the future, I know what to do. I know who to call. I know how long it takes. I know how much it's going to cost. It's really not that big of a deal. It's really not that big of a deal. But tell me this. I'm not saying that we're all going to be sued, but obviously there's going to be moments in our business journey where we're like, I'm done. I'm tapping out, throwing the towel. I can't handle this anymore. What do you say? Like, say you're taking that person, you're going to sit next to them, have a coffee on a bench. What are the things you're sharing with this person to help them get through these dark moments?
So I think every person and every situation is unique. And I just want to let you know, like, my business didn't stop when my mom died. It did not stop when I had my miscarriage. It did not stop when my dad died. And in fact, when the year my mom died was the most financially successful my business had ever been. And I was only 1 foot in. So someone was looking down on me. But what I really learned in doing all this healing that I think is extremely applicable to business, and you just alluded to it, a lot of things that trigger me. Like, if, for example, someone in my life is doing something that like my mother-in-law, I love her, but sometimes she'll like kind of like rearrange our cupboards or like whatever. And like, I used to be like, why does she think I'm not good enough to do this? But really it's like her own stuff and it has nothing to do with me. So like, if someone's doing something in business or something happens to you and involves another person, a lot of times it's them. It has nothing to do with you. But life and business are very similar in the way of like, there's going to be highs and there's going to be lows, and the bad times and the bad experiences will end, but you need to take action. You can't just sit there and become an ostrich and stick your head in the ground, right? So like, what are you going to do to solve that problem? You could just, hide and hope it goes away. Or you can say, what can I do to rectify this situation and move forward? Because the sooner you get it in the review mirror, the faster and sooner you can move forward and keep excelling towards your goals.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about it in more detail on another show, but we did a pretty in-depth journey a few weeks ago. There is this medicine that is the most potent medicine now. We know psychedelic in the world, but it's being used effectively to help treat people with trauma. It is like taking 20 years of therapy and throwing it at your face for 21 minutes. And let me tell you, the only way to heal is to go through it. Right? You said, you can stick your head in the sand and be an ostrich. Guess what? You're just avoiding the inevitable. And that beast gets bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm sober. Like, when I learned my dad was going to die, I'm a lot like him. It scared me. I was like, I got to just stop drinking. And what I didn't know was that as soon as I chose sobriety, I would start feeling my feelings and start to heal.
Oh my gosh. That's so true.
And I didn't really know who I was. Like, I started drinking in junior high, and like, I wasn't drinking all the time and every day, but like, I never had to face my problems because I drank. And I didn't care. But it's interesting because what I learned was I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was capable of. And the longer I go without drinking and the more I put focus on healing, the more profound my life experience is. And I've been working with medicine, and the one that you're working with, like I'm curious about, because some medicines are not for me, but like I think medicine work is so profound and healing, and it's what grounded me after my mom passed away. Like I didn't know who I was or which way was up, and I did a really intense 4-day private ceremony because traditional therapy stopped working.
And it's intense. And here's the thing is it's not for everybody at certain points in their life. I do believe there's a point where it can be for everybody. It's pretty heavy. And I honestly didn't know what I was setting myself up for until I faced it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is intense.
Well, Renée, also I don't know, I'm sure this medicine is similar, but it's also like the experience, but then what comes out of it, it's about the integration and how you apply what you've learned into your life. And then what happens is you start to become this person and you start to notice things because you had this 21 minutes of 20 years of therapy in 21 minutes, and you have had all these profound moments. And now you're starting to walk in your life differently, but other people who didn't do the healing aren't. And so things shift.
That's it. That's the thing is, I mean, we're getting a little bit off track, but I want to say it does matter in business, right? Because even today I was on a sales call for somebody else's program, and she asked me the question of why isn't this a now thing? And I go, to be honest with you, I'm just I'm not courageous enough to make this decision because I fear being successful. And she's like, well, that's weird. But it's not. And it's what happens in the healing thing, when you can heal stuff in your own life, do you know what that does for the next generation and the next generation?
Yeah, you're interrupting patterns. You are disrupting the intergenerational trauma.
Exactly. And you're healing it for other people so that other people don't have to experience that trauma. They will have other traumas, but that thing will be healed.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
You know what? This does relate to business, because if you're an entrepreneur, actually, if you do anything, your personal life and your business life or your job or whatever you're doing, they work together. And you need to show up for yourself, because if you can't show up for yourself, how are you showing up for your clients or your employees or your friends or your family? And healing, my healing work is very profound in my business. And it led me to some great relationships that, what's happening with the Global Resilience Project. I just hired, I've had a business for 15 years and I've been doing a lot of it myself. I just hired a fractional CEO. I put on my big girl pants, and I've hired a fractional CEO who's done work with some very prolific people out there. And I'm making big moves because I was what am I doing? I'm done just experimenting and seeing what works. I want a plan, and I have a plan that I want to this is the end goal, but I don't know how to get there. And I don't think I would have come to that conclusion if I didn't start doing the healing work that I was doing.
Totally.
Because I started to actually see that I actually am smarter than I think I am. And it's oh wait, Blair, yeah, you're not even 40 and you're opening a children's center in Ghana, and you've started multiple businesses, and you've survived all of this stuff and XYZ. And it's okay, let's play bigger. And I have the courage to play bigger because of the healing I'm doing.
Exactly. And in that moment on the call today, when I was here's why I'm not saying yes right now, was oh, okay, there's my roadblock. Oh, okay, there's my own yield sign. And I need to go and clear that so that when I do sign up for this program, it's all me. And I'm just doing it full tilt.
And I just want to say the fear of being successful, I understand that. I'm about to be on Amazon. So maybe just 10 minutes. Maybe one day I'll have my own TV show and, helping people be resilient that way. I don't know what the future has in store. I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it. But that's 10 minutes or 7 minutes of my life being very exposed. And that to me is very scary. I was on a billboard in Times Square last June for a month. It was twice a minute, 24 hours a day for a month, basically.
Wow.
And I was rotating with Kim Kardashian. It was me and a couple other co-authors in a book, and Kim Kardashian. So I was oh, look at me. That's funny. That was very scary because I'm that's a big version of my head. And a lot of people can see that. And being in PR, your job is to be behind. And now I'm in front. But I think there's a big fear about success because it's the fear of the unknown. And with success comes not only a lot of responsibility, but a lot more hardship.
Yes, it's true. And they say that the problems don't go away, they get more expensive.
Yeah. Oh man. But also like, what is success? Like that's a whole nother conversation.
Oh my gosh. Success. Oh, we can do a part 2 on that one.
Yeah.
But okay. So I have one last question for you.
Okay.
When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
Being a wild woman is waking up, following your intuition and doing whatever the heck you want.
Yeah. That's why I put on this bright, shiny Amazon special shirt that I'm wearing that looks like a fractal.
I love it. It's great. I look
prism
naked.
shirt. You do.
But I wanted to wear an outfit that was like summery and I didn't have to wear a bra and like still sort of cute. So
if you're listening, you can't see Blair, but she's wearing like a tube top dress shirt.
Yeah.
And the camera cuts off right where her shirt begins. So it almost looks like she's a naked podcaster.
We're joking. We should start like a podcast series, like podcasting in the nude.
Yeah, naked podcasters.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so if people want to go to find you online, where can they go?
theglobalresilienceproject.com. You can go to blairkaplan.ca. And if you're into social media and you want to follow my life journey, which is quite entertaining and edutaining, Blair from Blairland on Instagram.
Blairland. I love it. You've been amazing, Blair. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love it. I love you.
I love you too. So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renée_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time, the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.